Hey guys, iKailaKai here, and before we get into this video, I want to say that this is kind of a second part to a video that I talked about Red Purple Luffy in OP10. I brought this deck to a tournament, an unofficial tournament 3v3 with a couple of my friends, and we ended up making it to the top cut, top 8. So if you haven't seen that and you are curious about Red Purple Luffy, maybe go check that out because I did put a lot of effort into that video. The list that I brought was extremely experimental, and it just happened to be that it ended up doing quite well. However, I think that if you are kind of new to Red Purple Luffy, you should run a more standard list like this one. I don't necessarily think that this is the best list, but I do think that it can work, and Red Purple Luffy is one of the decks where you can build it in many such ways and still make it work. So consider this as an option, the way that I like to play the deck, but don't consider it as the only way to play the deck, because I think that I'm probably the only person even now to put in the 4-cost Frank into my deck. I go over lots of my card decisions at the end of this video, so if you guys are curious about some of those things, then make sure to watch till the end, and I appreciate you as always. Let's get into the video. This deck has a really good matchup into Purple Luffy and Red Shanks, and I wanted to show those matchups, but I don't have enough cards to be able to make Red Shanks and Red Purple Luffy and Purple Luffy because this deck just takes all of those cards. So we're playing against what is actually a bad matchup. Decent chance I end up losing, but hopefully I can show you some cool things with this deck.
Boy, I got the show. I'll go first.
Hey. So I have two plans that I can take. Either just rush super hard to 10-cost Shanks, or to play for the board. And although I don't have my top end, I have decent early game, so I can fight through there, even if I don't draw my top end.
Do you think I keep this hand?
If you're second, you absolutely keep
Yeah,
it.
right?
But like, because you're first, you probably want to find a better one drop, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you probably mulligan that.
Yeah. Entered.
Oh, no one drop. Roll. Check 4. Oof, that's sad. I missed.
Oh.
Because it has to be 2-cost or higher, and I got 2 1-cost Straw Hats. That really sucks. Entered. And also I bottom cards that I wanted.
7,000 leader effect.
Take.
Entered.
7,000 law.
Yeah.
The nice thing about these sorts of decks is that the opponent doesn't really know how to play against them as well. Enter.
Teach. Use the Kido Ming. Put hard to the top to rested on my leader. 9,000 leader effect. Jinbei. Yeah. Hankoku, look at 3 cards. Rested on leader. 10,000 leader.
Like, okay.
Enter.
1 don 0-0. 5,000 Jinbei, and then on attack, get 1 don active.
Block.
6,000 Jinbei.
Okay.
Okay. 6 don. Look. Enter. On attack, I can return 1 or more don to my don deck, and then 2 of your characters get minus 2,000 power.
7,000 0-0. Nina Koka.
You can play that.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
Maybe.
okay. Setting up your attacks. Makes sense. The nice thing though is that my deck basically just needs to survive up until this point, and then it gets easier. Oh, I haven't stabilized completely, but it gets easier from here on out. 2,000 buggy.
Yeah.
Leader effect. Get 1 don active. 6,000 leader.
I'll just 2,000 in.
Okay. 7,000 leader. No effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you rest your characters, I could do a completely different plan. But
Yeah.
9 don. Luffy. On a play. Return 1 don to draw 1 card. Then gain rush. 10,000 leader. Enter.
Enter. And then I don't know. I'm confusing myself so much just with like teach math and like leader effect stuff. Could do like Roxen, Nasen, Hosen, I guess. That's kind of strong if I really want to attack with everything, but I don't know if I want to do that because I maybe want to keep the blocker up. So
But do you need to keep the blocker up?
bring out some other Sokko like
Well, I mean,
high
it's
damage
like,
thing.
but like if you're afraid of dying, then you leave her up.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know, if it's just for board, then like this being rested or this being rested doesn't actually matter
Yeah, that's true.
because I'm just gonna hit the one that's rested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if all of them are rested, then it's harder for me to take out all of them.
Yeah.
And then you just got a free attack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only reason you would leave it active is if you think that I'm going to go for lethal.
Yeah.
Basically. And then the only way that that actually happens is you have like basically 0 counter in your hand. But from my point of view, you have 6 cards in hand.
Yeah.
So even if they all have 0 counter, from me that looks like 6,000 counter.
Yeah.
So I don't have a way of going for lethal basically, unless I absolutely need to.
Yeah.
So like you can play off of that assumption that I should have. But if you do leave this active with like 6 cards in your hand and 3 life, it looks like you're afraid of dying.
Mm-hmm.
which indicates to me that it's probably easy for me to take back the board or to take your life if I decide to. And
Yeah.
I can test that with one 6,000 attack and see how you react to it.
6,000 meter.
2,000.
7,000 meter.
2,000.
7,000 meter.
2,000.
Okay. Use teach effect. Put card to the top of my deck, and then put 2 rested dong on my leader. 8,000 leader effect, and then put 8,000 leader.
Okay. Giganto. Put back 2 dong. Trash 1 card. Plus 4,000 power. Draw 2 cards.
Jesus Christ. I forgot how strong that was. End turn.
Leader effect. Luffy. Minus 1 dong and draw Giganto. 7,000 Hankoku, and then on attack, minus 1 dong, and then minus these 2. Weevil and Hankoku.
So that means it's 7,000 to 4,000?
Yep.
2,000, 2,000.
Hankoku, 6,000.
2,000, 1,000.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. Hankoku. And the reduced Weevil. And then enter.
Okay. 8,000 leader effect.
2K, 1K?
6,200. Okay. Jozu, teach hand, and Buruk.
I see.
End turn.
4 cards in hand. 10, 10, 7, 10, 12. If you have 4 2Ks and a 1K in your next 2 life, then you win. 10,000 meter. 4 2Ks and a 1K. Like, 10,000 liter. Nika! Minus 10. Leader effect. Nika effect. 7,000 liter.
2,000, 1,000.
Enter. See if you have it. Nika effect. 10,000 liter. 12,000 liter.
It is.
I think you threw, but
Maybe.
I think you, I think you countered in a weird spot, which gave me an opportunity. So basically, this deck wants to try to get to 8 dong fast as possible, so that you can start using your leader effect, right? So for that, I have 8 cards that accelerate my dong. This is pretty standard. Some people run 10, but I think that 8's fine. Basically, most of the time I get it. Zorojuro is searchable, but the Tonkure is not. But most of the time, you get it. I did miss my search at the beginning of the game, which is very rare. I think that's the first time I've ever missed my search. Importantly, this law is just kind of acting as more of the one-cost Nami. The one big difference is that Nami can search Giant. So this is one reason why this deck uses Giant so well, is because one, it's searchable off of Nami, but because I have this as well as my leader effect, it's much easier to use this card, and as such this deck's pretty solid. In general, because this card has counter and also is solid going first and second in the early game, I think it's pretty solid. Last thing that I want to talk about is Frankie, because I get a lot of questions about this. I think that Queen and Onami are better. However, if you don't have the space for both of them, then I think that Frankie's better. Because I think that Queen is only strong if you can play Queen and Onami or Queen and Queen together on the same turn. If you only have one of them, then it gets kind of weak because you don't know what to do with the rest of your 5 dong. So you end up having to run at least 6 or 7 of the Queen and Onami to be able to make that combo more consistent in the late game. However, if you don't have the space to do that, I think that Frankie is good because you only need to run 4 of him. Because you run Frankie, when you're at 10 dong and you minus your dong to 8, and the opponent is at 10 dong, then you're 2 less than the opponent, meaning that this Sanji is now free cost. So this Sanji is already going to be in the deck no matter how you build it. So it just makes it so that instead of having to run Queen and Onami, you can just run Frankie, and it kind of helps you make more space in the deck. I think that if you have the space to put in both Queen and Onami, then those are better. If you try to fill out your deck with more tech cards, then you don't have as much space in your deck, and as such, in those situations, I think Frankie is good. Your turn.
I agree.
Okay, see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.